So something a few people have asked me about, both online and in real life, is would I ever cover fictional tube stations? There have been several made-up tube stations in film and TV, some of them so convincing that to this day I get people asking me what happened to Vauxhall Cross. Usually these stations aren't really thought through. To be fair, they don't really have to be. I don't think your average moviegoer really cares that the tube station a character uses for 10 seconds is authentic or not. But still, I am a tube nerd, so I can't help thinking about it when a tube station appears on screen. So you know what? Yes, I am going to start covering fictional tube stations. Today we're going to look at Westbourne Oak, from the first Paddington film. The Paddington movies are just excellent pieces of family entertainment. I grew up with the Paddington stories, and I feel like these films really capture the essence and the charm of the character, while updating him for a modern audience. They're basically films about family and friendship and the importance of being nice, and I think we can all get behind that. They're set in a slightly fantastical version of London where talking bears exist, and a middle-class family can afford a 3-storey townhouse in Zone 2. The Browns, Paddington Bear's adopted family, live on Windsor Gardens. The exact location isn't specified, but it seems to be implied that it's somewhere around the Notting Hill, Paddington Bayswater area. They are within walking distance, for a small bear, of Portobello Road and Little Venice. The tube station they use is called Westbourne Oak. So let's break this down in far more detail than the filmmakers ever intended. There is no station named Westbourne Oak, but the name sounds familiar. That's because it's a portmanteau of two real stations, Westbourne Park and Royal Oak. Royal Oak is very close to Paddington Station. It's the next stop west on the Hammersmith and City and Circle lines. The next stop after that is Westbourne Park. So yeah, the filmmakers seem to have deliberately chosen a name that sounds like a real place in Paddington. Although it has to be said that Westbourne Park is rather less photogenic than the fictional Westbourne Oak. However, the station they used for the exterior shots is Maida Vale. The escalators are St John's Wood and the ticket hall is the disused part of Charing Cross, but I'm just going to ignore that for now because this is my channel and I'll do whatever I want. Maida Vale is on the Bakerloo line, and like Westbourne Park and Royal Oak, it's a short distance down the line from Paddington. 2 stops, in fact. It's about a mile on foot from Westbourne Park. Maida Vale is one of my favourite stations. It was designed by Stanley Heaps in a style that was quite similar to the iconic work of Leslie Green, but is a little more elaborate. I can totally understand why, if you're trying to create a slightly prettier than reality, somewhat timeless version of London, you would use Maida Vale. So, it's a fictional station, but it incorporates enough appropriate elements that it feels authentic. I think if you weren't super familiar with London, you could definitely believe that this was a real station. The filmmakers did a great job. But can we do better? Can we come up with an explanation for how there could be a tube station called Westbourne Oak? Prepare for some serious, nerdy fan-fiction type speculation here, because I think we could actually do this quite easily. Both Maida Vale and Royal Oak are actually named after pubs. Maida Vale, the place, takes its name from a pub called the Maida, which no longer exists. It's actually a relatively recent development. This area was basically out in the countryside until the 1820s, hence the fact that the area around takes its name from the pub. There was nothing else to name it after. As for Royal Oak, technically there is no such place. Or at least there wasn't when the station was opened, but, like so many places, the area takes its name from the station. The station, meanwhile, is named after the Royal Oak, which is now the Porchester. However, the original name of the place, ignoring what the chaps from the Hammersmith and City Railway say, is officially Westbourne Green. Presumably the Hammersmith and City Railway, who built the station, wanted some way to distinguish it from Westbourne Park. Who knows, man? But anyway. So let's imagine that in the Paddington Bear cinematic universe, the pub known as the Maida does not exist. No, let's go one better. Let's say that the Royal Oak exists, but it was where the Maida was in our universe. The Royal Oak is a very common pub name in Britain, deriving from the English Civil War, when, it was said, King Charles I hid from Oliver Cromwell's forces in an oak tree. So it's perfectly plausible that there could be another pub by that name in the local area. So in this universe, Maida Vale is not a place and never was. Instead, this area became known as Royal Oak. The station on the Hammersmith and City Railway was named Westbourne Green, which was no doubt quite confusing for passengers, but it would hardly be the first time that two nearby stations have been given confusingly similar names, looking at you, East Putney and Putney Bridge. In 1915, the Bakerloo Railway extends in this direction as it did in our universe. Initially, the builders planned to name their new station Royal Oak, but then they decide to be a little bit cunning. Royal Oak is practically Westbourne, so they decide that maybe they can poach some passengers from the Hammersmith and City Railway by implying that their station is in fact in Westbourne. So, the station takes the name Westbourne Oak, retaining the oak part, both for people familiar with the old name and to give some distinction from the other stations. In due time, the local area comes to be known by that name too. So there you go, my headcanon explanation for how there could be a Westbourne Oak. Well, I hope you enjoyed this Ursine tale from the tube. If you did, please do leave a like and subscribe for more. Maybe even click on the notification button to be kept up to date whenever I release a new video. Why did I make this? I don't know. Sometimes I like to make videos that don't really have much point. But if you did like this, let me know if there are any other fictional stations you'd like me to think too hard about in the comments section below. I'm thinking Vauxhall Cross, Hobbs End, Walford East, just for starters. As always, I'd like to thank my generous donors on Ko-fi and Patreon. You are the marmalade to my sandwiches. And I'll see you all again very soon for another tale from the tube.